Hey everyone, this is Charles Gross from Two on the Aisle, and I'm here with Dave Lefkowitz on Dave's Gone By, UNC Radio.
Here on the 10th Annual Total Theater Tony Show with me, Dave Lefkowitz, here on UNC Radio. Very happy to talk to someone that I've known for more than 2 decades now. I count him not only as a critic, but as a friend. He's been on my show a bunch of times. I've been on his Manhattan cable television show called Two on the Aisle many, many times. It's still running now in its 19th season. You can also get his Twitter feed at 2Aisle. That's number 2 with the word aisle. And I'll say I'm very happy to have Charles Gross back in the neighborhood. Welcome, Charles.
And great to be here, Dave. It's wonderful to be appearing with you. You know, actually, Two on the Aisle is, I think it's in its 23rd season. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
With the exception of my co-hosts, first Jeff Goodman and now Leslie Hoban Blake, you have appeared on that show more than anybody.
Well, I'm very proud. If I were back in New York, I would sure be appearing a lot more often. But
and if you were back in New York, we'd be happy to have you.
I appreciate that so much, and appreciate having you here to talk about a specific category of the Tony Awards, Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role in a Musical. I'll read out the nominees. Those are Mary Bridget Davies in A Night with Janis Joplin, Sutton Foster for Violet, Idina Menzel in If Then, Jessie Mueller for Beautiful, the Carole King musical, and Kelli O'Hara, The Bridges of Madison County. Bunch of heavyweights here. Charles, weigh in.
You have 3 veteran actresses, Sutton Foster, Idina Menzel, and Kelli O'Hara. 1 relative newcomer. This is actually Jessie Mueller's second Tony nomination. She was nominated for her performance in On a Clear Day.
Oh.
And Mary Bridget Davies, her first Tony nomination. Before I get into who was nominated, I just want to mention who was not nominated.
Yeah.
And normally they are egregiously overlooked, but in this case, Audra McDonald, who is appearing in Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, was not nominated in this category because she was nominated for Best Actress in a Play, even though Lady Day is about 70% singing.
Yeah, I just don't understand that decision to call it a play with music when it actually has more songs in it than Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
I think maybe because they figure she's got a much better shot at winning.
True, which she does, actually. So, with Audra out of that category, any other egregious omissions, by the way?
No, I think they pretty much nailed it this year.
Okay, so, what are your thoughts on, first of all, who you think will win?
Well, let's go over the nominations. First, you have Mary Bridget Davies, Night with Janis Joplin. This is mostly a singing performance, not much acting to it, although, of course, she's in character while she sings. But the show has not closed on Broadway. An off-Broadway revival of it failed to materialize, and that actually counts. We like to think of it as totally artistic, but the voters do take the business considerations into their decision also, because a lot of them are producers or have houses on the road. So I don't think
she doesn't have a shot. Okay.
She does not. Then, of course, you have Kelli O'Hara, the lovely Kelli O'Hara, The Bridges of Madison County. Now, this has a beautiful score that is perfectly suited for her operatic voice. So she sings it beautifully, and if you liked her shower scene in South Pacific, you'll probably enjoy her bathtub scene in this play.
Oh, yeah.
However, but here's the problem. This is a play about a bored war bride living on a farm. Her husband is away, and all of a sudden this photographer comes to photograph the bridges of Madison County, and they have this torrid affair. This is where it gets to be a problem. You need passion, you need chemistry, you need romance, and there was none of that between Kelli O'Hara and her co-star Stephen Pasquale. So I don't think she's going to win.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
Well, no, I'm saying they don't really quite heat up the stage. You know, it's a very mellow, kind of lukewarm. I mean, they're having sex and they're loving more than just sex. But at the same time, you're kind of watching them and say, okay, they're going to fall into bed together. Whoopee. You know?
Exactly. And you don't get a Tony for Whoopi, unless it's making Whoopi the musical, but that's not around this
Or Whoopi Goldberg herself. What about some of the other nominees?
Well, there is Idina Menzel. She is having a wonderful year. The movie Frozen, where she sings Let It Go, which is a major mega hit. She managed to turn having her name botched by John Travolta in the Oscars into one of the best publicity
exactly
in years. She has this brand new musical, which is, I don't want to say it was written for her, but she does carry the show, and she is obviously the star. So she's back on Broadway, where she had success in Wicked and in Rent. This is a show about a woman who has parallel lives. We see two paths her lives could have taken. And the concept is fascinating. The show is not. Her character's name is Elizabeth. And in each scenario, Elizabeth is more or less the same Elizabeth. Not much different. And I don't know what to say about a score where the most interesting song is one that's built around the F word.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, she carries the show. Yes, she is a Broadway star. Will she win the Tony? I don't think so.
Aha. So now that leaves Sutton Foster and Jessie Mueller.
It does. So Sutton Foster, certainly having her back on Broadway is the silver lining for those of us who miss her TV show Bunheads. This is the busiest actress on Broadway. Look at all the shows that she's starred in. Everywhere from Thoroughly Modern Millie to Shrek, The Drowsy Chaperone, and most recently Anything Goes. She is an incredible talent, and almost every time I see her on Broadway, she has a new talent, whether it's belching in Shrek or jumping through hoops in The Drowsy Chaperone, or singing the lyrics to Anything Goes even more clearly than Ethel Merman did.
Wow. And so what's her special talent here in Violet?
Well, that's a little tough to say. This is the first show I've seen of hers in a while where I really can't pick anything out. Now, you see her in a very different role than she's played. She is a young woman in the 60s living in the South. She has a horrible scar on her face, which we have to imagine because they don't actually make her up with it. And she is going to this faith healer in the hopes that he can heal her.
Mm-hmm.
And the show is basically what happens to her on the way, when she gets there, and very briefly after. Now, for some reason, Violet, which has been around, I think, for about a decade, is this cult favorite among the theater community. It's this show that everybody loves and everyone couldn't wait to see. And this was my first time seeing it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, gee, what was all the fuss about? It is a decent show, but I found the score serviceable rather than
I agree, by the way, but
incredible.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I did like Sutton's performance. It's very different from anything she's done. But certainly, using her singing, dancing, and acting talents, it certainly doesn't utilize her dancing talents the way some of her other shows have. Maybe it's a different type of role for her. And because she is so beloved by the theater community, and because there is such a thing about this show, I would not be at all surprised
if she wins the Tony Award. Interesting.
Yes. However, the person that every time I imagine the Tonys, when I hear Best Actress in a Musical called, the name I hear is Jessie Mueller.
Why?
Why? Because she has this wonderful, wonderful musical. She doesn't have to carry it the way some of the other nominees do, but she's got a great role in a great musical. This is Carole King. It's obviously beautiful, the Carole King musical. She plays the title role, Carole King. And it is the story of King starting as a young songwriter up into the release of her album Tapestry. And it is, in my opinion, not only one of the best musicals on Broadway this season, but certainly the best jukebox musical to come along. Jersey Boys. Comes very close. I think if you consider Jersey Boys the pinnacle of jukebox musicals, this comes very, very close. And on a good night, I might even say it equaled it. And not only do you get the songs that she wrote, but they also have the characters of Cynthia Weil and Barry Mann in the play, both as rivals and friends. So not only do you get Carole King songs such as I Hear the Earth Mood, We Used to Love Me Tomorrow, but you also get Walking in the Rain.
You've Lost That Loving Feeling, though, that sort of songs by Mann and Weil.
You have a whole array of these beautiful songs that were popular in the 60s. It's just a wonderful show. And I think on the strength of that, we will see Jessie Mueller getting the Tony Award. And if whatever sentiment or misplaced love for Violet does not throw Sutton Foster over it. And I will say she does give a good performance. You have a lot of actresses giving wonderful performances in mediocre musicals.
That's fair to say. And Sutton has won a couple of times before, I think, so that may throw the edge also to Jessie Mueller because she's a relative newbie. Was Beautiful, the Carole King musical, was that your favorite show on or off Broadway of the whole season?
One of my favorites.
What was one other?
Well, certainly I like Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Ah, okay.
I liked Love, Labour's Lost last year, Shakespeare in the Park. That was a good show. Act 1, a story about Lost Heart.
Oh, okay. Nice to hear that show getting some love. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm getting some love here from... I probably should rephrase that. But I'm loving having Charles Gross on this Tony show and having him on my radio show and being his friend for so many years. I wish you continued success with Two on the Aisle, and give my best to Leslie Hoban Blake, who will, by the way, also be on this Tony broadcast.
Oh, wonderful.
So thank you, Charlie. Best of luck, best of love to your family as well, and thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.